Oh my God.
Hi, girlies.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Bria. Uh-oh. Bria had a little too much of the joint. I brought Diamond.
Oh, God.
Oh,
you guys.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so these are from Amuse delivery service. So thank you, Amuse. So today we smoked this Jeter infused 1G diamond joint. This is what it looks like. It's pretty strong. Not gonna lie, it's rolled in keef, so it's really gonna get you. You don't
when
need a
you
lot.
touch the outside, it's grainy feeling
From the keef.
Oh,
And then it has a glass tip to smoke out of.
This is taking me back to my college days.
So follow Jeter on Instagram and also sponsor us.
Thank you, Jeter. How are you doing, Jenny?
I'm good. This is going to be a fun topic for us. I feel like this is a perfect topic for a high podcast.
Absolutely. Maybe we should just tell them we're talking about conspiracy theories. We've each researched a few theories, and we're going to just
I should have made us tin
it.
hats. We should put them on for the aluminum foil tin hat. We are putting our tin hats on today.
Oh, I wish we had it, and I would
have aluminum foil.
I do, but I have a very limited amount.
Well,
I'm like about to run out.
A triangle and just a little. Put it on our head, like a little yarmulke tin hat.
Oh, really? So you're trying to make a mockery of the yarmulke?
No, it's just a new version for the conspiracy theorists.
I don't want to get up.
Okay.
But just imagine.
We are putting, here, at the same time, we are putting our tin hats on, okay?
Please join us by putting your tin hat on.
And get high with us.
Period.
So, I feel like conspiracy theories are really interesting, especially now. I feel like people are all over TikTok. You don't know what's real or what's fake. And
QAnon.
Yeah.
QAnon goes deep.
They go deep. I didn't realize how, because I've never looked into it. I just see them on like CNN or like The Daily Show being crazy at rallies or like speeches. And I'm like, they're just like really like crazy. But they are really into some, they think it's true, but it's like definitely conspiracy theories because my former therapist, who I went to one session or two for, was never vaccinated as a kid. None of her family was. They're hippies. So like this is the progression, I think, of QAnon.
100% starts as, okay, you start getting a little granola. You start saying, okay, I'm not going to buy detergents with blah, 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 blah. You start making your own stuff. Then it starts being
vaccines.
Ugh.
And then it gets bad. And then it's like, oh, well, Trump is our savior because he's the only one that's really telling us the truth. Like, he's the only one that's real. He's not like, you know, like a fake person, like a animal in like a zipper outfit of like a politician. Like, that's what they think.
A lizard person.
And my former therapist this was during the pandemic. Maybe like the end of 2020 or 2021. And we were talking about the fires that were happening in California and how sad it is that so many people have lost their homes. And she goes, I know, if only Biden like gave them some relief. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, you know that he created that. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Biden is controlling the weather. Wake up, people.
She literally thinks that Biden paid the Chinese government to shoot lasers first at Texas. Remember when Texas had that horrible snowstorm in 2020 and like people died in their homes?
When Ted Cruz went to Mexico.
Yeah. That they used lasers. They can control the weather either by making it freezing for somewhere that can't, handle it, or extreme fires. And so he could win he could win the election.
I am so perplexed. That requires a lot of like mental gymnastics to get that far.
Well, and then, I was like, where did you hear that? And she was like, I heard it in the underground. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, you can't listen to like, the news. Like, you need to get your sources from people on these podcasts. Ding. But like,
and she's like, and I actually got it from High Girlies. You don't remember saying that?
But she was like, I was like Joe Rogan, and she was like, he's cool, but like these podcasts.
Oh God, more intense than Joe Rogan.
More intense, way more intense than Joe Rogan.
No.
And I have a friend whose mom like listens to these and it's like, I don't want to be mean, but like the weaker minded people who are not as educated, I would say, are falling for these traps, are like, you don't see it yet, you need to listen to these people because what they're talking about is true. And they're conspiracy theories, obviously, really outlandish, some of them
extremely outlandish. I never even see the majority of them just like in my day-to-day life, so I really don't know how deep it goes. But my mom has been on TikTok lately.
Oh God.
And she always sends us TikToks, and usually just funny little things. And she started kind of sending, like, there's this woman who's like a psychic who has been predicting everything accurately that's been happening with P. Diddy so far. And so she like sent one of her videos, and I was like, huh? And I talked to her on the phone, and she was talking about like these conspiracy theories about Diddy and the Illuminati and stuff. And I was like, you're getting that from TikTok? Her TikTok algorithm is like feeding her conspiracy theories.
And it's only the beginning in an election year.
Everyone, if your parents are on TikTok, you need to go on their account and reset their algorithm. Just reset it, because they are getting outlandish shit.
So how did your mom agree to like reset her TikTok algorithm?
She hasn't.
Oh, I thought you did it for her.
No, I told her that she has to, and I would like to, but I haven't been around her.
Why don't you like FaceTime her and be like, Mom, you need to do this right now. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, because she's like on the precipice. She's not at the lizard people. Not even close to lizard people. She might be getting a few Bill Clinton things. She's starting to get the Bill Clinton stuff.
So do you think that she would full on hard fall into...
I don't think that she would do lizard people.
She's a little more educated than that.
Yeah. I honestly, maybe that's as far as she would go. The Diddy Illuminati stuff.
Yeah, because it's also kind of like, does she really believe it? Like, it's not affecting her day to day.
That and...
Like, QAnon, it's like, you are fucking my life up, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. There's like a whole subreddit that's dedicated to people whose family members have become part of QAnon. And it's like a support group because the parents are ruining their lives.
I've lost family to...
That's a very common story.
Yeah.
People like, I remember after January 6th, people were like, my parents went on January 6th and I don't talk to them anymore. Okay, it's ruining lives.
I mean, I understand it. It's hard. You can't reason with them. And then it's like, what do we talk about? Because all you want to talk about is that, and I don't. So there's nothing we can do other than...
It's one thing if you could just like kind of ignore it. Like, you know that they believe in the lizard people, but they never bring it up, and it's just like in their own head. Mm-hmm. But when they incessantly are like... ha ha ha, you're going to downtown LA. Ironically, the lizard people are set up in a pizza shop on 6th. It's like, girl.
There's just conspiracy theories flying everywhere.
Please.
Like during the Super Bowl, people were saying on TikTok that like, who did the Chiefs play? I think, so they were saying that like, before even it was the 49ers and the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, like during the AFC and NFC playoff or championship games, they're like, oh, we already know who's going to win, because in the last 3 years, they've had the colors already for the Super Bowl logo, and then the it's like, let's say it's like red and white. So that would be like the 49ers.
Aren't they red and gold?
Or red and gold, or like let's say blue and gold for the Rams, because when the Rams won, it was like the color on the inside of the color that's on the outside, like the inside color, that team is going to win. And so for the last 3 years, the colors of the Super Bowl logo that are like just it's decided like a year before the Super Bowl happens, that team's colors were was the logo. Yeah. So they were like, oh, we already know because the NFL is a bunch of cheaters and like they already picked who's going to win because I think it was
and they're trying to like taunt the public by putting it in the title?
Yeah. That's what they were saying.
God.
So it was like red and I think it was like red and purple or red and something. And so everyone was like, the 49ers are going to win.
Oh my God.
Or maybe it was red and gold. Sorry. But the Chiefs are also red and gold. And then the Chiefs won.
Take that.
So the NFL heard everybody on TikTok was like,
oh, now
no.
they're switching it up. See, there's an explanation for anything, isn't there?
But I also think they really wanted a Taylor Swift love story there.
Exactly.
You know? Like play it up for the next season. But so what's really going on today is conspiracy theories. And, I felt like this was a really good episode for the joint to just have overly hit. Yeah.
So I hope that y'all are maybe partaking.
Well, maybe
it might get a bit much.
We're going to get into it.
We are.
Should we talk, since we're talking about the NFL, should we talk about Deflategate?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know what Deflategate is?
Nope.
You've heard of it?
Nope.
No.
Never heard of it.
I thought you brought it up. I must have brought it up. Okay.
I saw it I was looking up I was Googling different conspiracy theories and I saw Deflategate and I was like, what is that?
So Deflategate is interesting. And honestly, the fact that we're talking about sports on this podcast, you're welcome for those who like sports.
Sports girls.
Bria is not a sports girly. No. She'll go to a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She's a woo.
I'll go to a baseball or soccer game.
Oh, not a basketball game or a football game?
I'll go to a basketball game. I probably won't go to a football game, to be honest.
You don't want to support the NFL?
I just am so, like, it has no redeeming qualities. Baseball, it's so long. You get to talk in between. Basketball usually has pretty good food. Good food options. Soccer has good food too, and I played soccer growing up, so I actually know how it works, so it's like somewhat interesting. Okay. But football, ooh.
The food at the SoFi Stadium, I will say, is pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. So it could be worth it for you. But also, I never watched football growing up. So the fact that I'm going to lead you down Deflategate is like, bear with me here.
Lead us.
Because I was
your best.
I played basketball. I was all into that. I played soccer once. And I really love baseball. So football to me is kind of like, but then going to a big college, I was like, I need to learn how this works. And there's so many weird rules. Like the way it works,
it's the most complicated sport ever.
It's just very
I've
different.
had people explain it to me multiple times, and I'm still just like, why are they doing so much? They are doing the absolute most.
Like me.
Yeah.
It's okay. I got it.
Okay, so walk us through what happened.
Okay, so Deflategate. You know who Tom Brady is? Oh, shit. This is what happens when you have ADHD.
Just sit.
I can't sit still. I'm undiagnosed, but everyone else has diagnosed me, so I'm just a fidgeter.
You are a fidgeter.
I can't help it. I'm sorry. Anyway.
It's okay. Okay. Get into it.
So we know who Tom Brady is.
Yes.
We know who the Patriots
Gisele's
are.
husband. Tom Brady was on ex-husband. Tom Brady was on the Patriots.
Yes. And Tom Brady is like the Michael Jordan of football. So, and he played on the Patriots for a long time until he retired. And then now he plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wait a minute. He retired and is still playing?
He retired for like a season and then he got back and then he came back and then he brought Gronk with him.
Okay.
Gronk is like his Robin Hood. Or no, Robin to Batman.
Okay. Go on.
That's as far as I know. Don't ask me what position he plays because
Quarterback, no?
Well, Tom Brady, but Gronk I think is a running.
We're getting into the weeds.
Anyway, out of the weeds. See, this is what happens when you get high. Okay, so Deflategate. Deflategate happened like 2016. The Patriots were in the playoff or their championship before going to the Super Bowl. And they were playing Jackson. I forget which team it is. I'd have to look at my phone. Doesn't matter. They were playing a team. And they were winning at halftime. And I guess they measure the balls throughout the game for weather reasons. Because if you're in a higher altitude or it's raining, you might need to put a different pressure in the ball than you would when it's like 100 degrees outside. It's like a bike. Like you have to deflate your bike if it's like snowing outside. So that anyway, it's like the PSI. There's a lot of science that goes into Deflategate that I'm not going to get into. So anyway, they measured the 12 balls that they play with during the game, and one of them was 2 pounds lighter.
Ooh, that's kind of a lot.
It is kind of a lot. And so aerodynamically, it's easier to throw a ball and catch it if it's deflated a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So the quarterback or one of the players on the other team that was involved in this investigation was like, I didn't even notice. Like, you think 2 pounds is a lot, but I guess if you're holding it and you're in the game, you probably don't notice at all.
Right.
But so then the Patriots win, and I believe they won the Super Bowl that year. And then because this happened, it looks like they're cheating because they are the ones they were supplying the balls, or they had their handlers on the balls.
But my question is, if it's deflated to benefit them, would the other team not be benefiting as well?
Well, that's what Tom Brady argued. Well, Tom Brady argued like this is ridiculous because then it kind of was like people were trying to tarnish his reputation because it's like, well, if they never maybe they never noticed. Maybe he plays with deflated balls all the time. It became like a thing.
Oh, wow.
But in theory, yeah, you're playing with the same balls. Or, well, no, I think if you are on the offense, your team is supplying the balls to you. So they may not have been playing with the same balls. Just, you know what? Like, this is what happens when you have two people who don't watch football.
This is making perfect sense to me. Okay, I don't need those useless details. Who was the other team? Who gives a fuck? Like, the point is that the ball was
deflated. It was deflated, and they ruled in court that the Patriots owed $1 million for this.
Okay, give us your profits from the hot dog stand for 3 hours. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I mean, $1 million for a fine, though, for that is a lot. And they lost 2 NFL draft picks, and I don't think they've won a Super Bowl since then. So that's another conspiracy that, like, they're cursed from this.
Oh, like the karma, or that their people are watching their balls?
The karma.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's like the Astros. Like they had a similar
That's what I was going to say. And I was at that World Series. I was at the second game for that World Series at the Dodger Stadium. And we flipped our hats inside out and put them on as rally caps. Like we were rallying. But that year.
Give me like 2 sentences. Like what happened? They were banging something with the bat. Trash can. They were hitting on the trash can.
No, the Astros cheated in that World Series.
I know, but they were cheating by like giving signals by banging on the trash can, right?
Oh, I don't know that much. I think so. They did something where they were doing something that was cheating because they had studied, like, I think the Dodgers codes, and then they had known their cheat code, basically, I think.
So that when they gave the code, they were like, oh, they're going to do this. Now we're going to do this. Listen, I mean, it's not the first time that people have been cheating in sports. It happens. Yeah. Just take your punishment. That World Series was like
watching a home run derby. Or like there were so many home runs.
Really?
Because they had changed the bats that year. So the bats could be lighter, which made the balls fly. Like that game that we went to was like, it was like 13 to like 11 or something. Like that's really unheard of in a World Series.
I feel like every baseball game I've ever gone to has been like it ends at 6-3.
Right. Maybe 9-5 or something.
Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yeah. But like almost every game in that World Series was like that.
Well, the person who's cheating always gets caught.
Yeah.
It catches up to you eventually. And speaking of cheating, I want to talk about a different conspiracy theory.
Lady Di.
We're going to talk about Lady Di. The people's princess. We miss and love her every day, Lady Di.
I have her Beanie Baby.
I do too.
Don't sell that shit.
Oh,
it's
I'm absolutely
worth a lot
not.
of money.
So I did extensive research, so I'm going to be referencing my notes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I listened to a Lady Di conspiracy podcast, a two-parter.
Wow.
And took notes, and then
she got into it.
Did some searching and whatnot. So here's what happened. Let me set the scene first, even though we've all seen The Crown, I hope. Spoilers if you haven't. So literally, Will got mad at me because I spoiled that
Crown?
Yeah, because I spoiled that Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed were dating. Like Dodi popped up and I was like, "Oh my God, it's her boyfriend," and he was like, "Oh." I'm sorry.
Were you not alive when
we
this
don't
happened?
all know it's fucking. I was like 4 when this happened.
I was 5 when she died,
and I know that.
I remember watching her funeral, and my mom was crying. Oh,
I do not remember
sobbing.
anything about this situation. I just know that she was the people's princess. She was very beloved. So she married Charles. They have a 12-year age gap. She was 20. He was 32. And long story short, they had 2 kids. They both were cheating on each other, and they wound up divorcing in 96.
They didn't both really cheat on each other.
Yes, they did.
Not like he did.
She had multiple affairs. She had an affair with her horse instructor, with a bodyguard. Remember when they had that recording of her like talking to her, having a sexual message she left for her bodyguard? She was having like affairs.
Okay.
Full on affairs.
The Crown didn't really paint it that way.
Of course they didn't. But we here on High Girlies, we go by the facts.
Okay.
We go by the documentary. We go by the book.
Okay.
Because like they're telling a story, but she was cheating as well. They divorce. Obviously, Charles gets with Camilla, and then she dates this heart surgeon guy. He refuses to marry her, so she meets Dodi, who is basically like a Nepo baby because his dad was the owner of Harrods and was a like multi-billionaire.
Explain what Harrods is for the people.
Harrods is like the Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's of the UK.
Yeah. Accurate.
Huge ass department store with luxury brands in it. So they yacht for a few weeks. They end up going to Paris because Dodi's dad also owns the fucking Ritz-Carlton in Paris. Mm-hmm. He has a castle in France, and he has a Paris apartment. So they go back to Paris and spend the whole fucking day like going to his different properties and seeing what the fuck is going on. They have dinner at the Ritz, and then afterwards they're heading back to the apartment when the paparazzi are basically mobbing them. They try to set up a decoy car situation. They end up going into a tunnel when the paparazzi are chasing them, and they crash. Lady Di passes away. Dodi Al-Fayed passes away. The driver passes away. The bodyguard is the only person who survived, Dodi's bodyguard, and he had a huge brain injury, so he doesn't remember anything.
Oh.
So,
damn.
This death was, who would you compare it to? What's another, Michael Jackson?
I was going to say, but I didn't want to say.
It was like low-key Michael Jackson level.
Like
bigger.
It was bigger. I mean, I was so young, I don't remember where I was, like I was with Michael Jackson. It's like,
but I'm
Kobe
sure a lot of
Bryant
people
to
do.
me.
Ooh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of conspiracy. Anyway.
So yes, after this happened, everyone's so devastated, especially Dodi's dad, that the conspiracy theories start flying. And one of the biggest conspiracies pushed by Dodi's dad and a lot of people in general is that the royal family conspired with MI6, which is basically like the UK CIA, to kill Lady Di.
And his son.
He was collateral damage.
But that's why he was really upset too.
Oh, yeah. That's why, yeah. He was basically saying that my son was murdered as collateral damage for some shit he had nothing to do with, and no one ever remembers that he was even there.
And the royals are, from then, are not ever allowed to shop at Harrods or stay at the Ritz.
Really?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Which nowadays is like, okay, big whoop. I can't go into a department store. I'll like send my person. But back then
But
it was
sending
like
a message.
Ooh, yes.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
It's like saying in the 90s you can't go to Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom. Like, it's like their department store.
Yeah, just like, I mean, to me, it's like for a layperson being told you will never be allowed in another Cheesecake Factory again.
Or you will never be allowed at Disneyland ever again.
That. The people who get banned from Disneyland, bless your heart.
My God.
But okay, so here's the kind of initial conspiracy. It was a tragic accident caused by paparazzi, a drunk driver, because the driver was like 3 times over the legal limit, and Diana wasn't wearing a seatbelt. However, King Philip. King?
No.
What is the Queen's husband called?
He's called the, he's not the king. He's called like the Duke of Edinburgh or something.
That makes sense. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know
he
if that's
conspired
right,
with MI6 to have them killed. The number one question is, why the fuck would they do that? I mean, yeah, the royal family frowns upon divorce, but like, who really cares enough to kill someone, right?
Well,
allegedly, Lady Di was pregnant with Dodi's baby, and they were getting engaged. And if you know anything about the royal family, you know they do not like any color. They do not like any other religion.
Really a royal at that point.
She got a huge divorce settlement. She was still receiving a royal salary. She lived at the royal, like on the royal premises. She had royal engagements.
But she wouldn't like tarnish the bloodline.
She would indirectly, because they didn't want the future king to have a half sibling that was brown and Muslim.
Oh.
So it really connects quite directly.
Well, and there was a lot of shit at that time going on in the Middle East near where they're from. Like in Egypt, like Desert Spring, I think.
History lesson. Don't remember that. But yeah, long story short, they were racist. I mean, we all know that the royal family has some Nazi ties. Philip was raised by Nazis. But anyways, how would they know that she was pregnant and about to be engaged? They were tapping her fucking phone. And they heard when Diana and Dodi called Mohammed to tell him that she was pregnant. Also, like, everybody saw them go. They went to go look at rings, and like he had to have a ring resized, and he went back to go pick it up later. Like,
okay. So in The Crown, what do you think of that episode then? Because that is not how they painted it at all.
They painted it as him going by himself, right?
They painted him as, I want to go to Paris because I want to take you to Paris, because he wanted to propose to her because his dad was pushing him to propose to her. And he didn't really want, he felt like it was too fast. And
it was fast because he had just been engaged to someone else.
Yeah. He had broke up that engagement to be with her because his dad was like, you need to be with her and you guys are friends or whatever, or I'm close with her. So then in the show, they go to they go to Paris, even though she was like, I have to be back in London to see my kids, like, after being in the south of France. So Paris, in the show, they were not supposed to even go to. They were supposed to go back. But he really wanted to propose to her in Paris. They go look at rings, and she was just like, I don't really want to be here. There's paparazzi, like, trying to get her. And then he was like, okay. And then they go back to the hotel room the night that she dies. And in the hotel room,
he pretends to be on the phone with Muhammad and saying, like, I'm not letting you run me anymore. And we all know.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
But he was going to propose, and she could feel it. And she told him to not do it. And then they are supposed to go to dinner or something. They were going to go to dinner at the Ritz, but it was like everyone was all over them. So then they decided
that happened,
dinner somewhere else, and then they died in the car.
Yeah, they were having dinner somewhere else. The paparazzi were crazy. He was like, let's go back to the Ritz.
Oh, that's right.
They start having dinner. Everybody's staring at her. They had ended up having dinner alone in their hotel room.
But then they left.
And then they left to go to the apartment to sleep.
Well, so what do you think? What do you think is the truth in that?
So,
because that is not what The Crown showed at all. It would have been cool if they were like, scenario 1, scenario 2.
Yeah,
scenario
I think
3.
The Crown takes creative liberties.
Yeah.
And just tries to make like more of an intentional, like personal story. Mm-hmm. But I honestly think when it came down to it, they wanted to go to Paris because he was getting the ring resized. They'd already picked it out. So he had to pick up the ring anyway. And he wanted to show her all of his family's properties and shit like that. And that was it.
You think she was pregnant?
Let me continue with the conspiracy theory, and then we can talk about if we agree. So basically the idea was that Philip found out about the engagement and the pregnancy, and he wasn't down for it. So he asked Prime Minister Tony Blair for approval to have the MI6 take her out.
What?
And they were conspiring with the driver of the car, Henri Paul, because he had allegedly been an MI6 informant for years.
Oh my God.
He's a security guard making $35,000 US, it would be, a year, and yet he had $100,000 spread across a bunch of bank accounts.
No way.
And the night of the accident, he is unaccounted for 3 hours. And we have confirmed that MI6 was in Paris that night on official business for something else. So he certainly could have met up with them. They said, listen, we have something we're working on. There's a lot of money in it for you. All you have to do is get Princess Diana in that tunnel. And we will handle the rest. And what was the rest, you ask? The idea was that she would be driving into the tunnel. This is according to an eyewitness who had been driving in front of them in the tunnel. They had 4 motorcyclists in the tunnel before the Mercedes even got in, waiting. And as soon as the Mercedes got in, they swarmed it and strobe lighted the driver, causing him to crash.
Wait, where's the guy who worked for MI6?
He's driving.
So it was a suicide mission?
He didn't know that it was a suicide mission. They just said, get her through the tunnel. We can't tell you what it is.
Oh.
We'll handle the rest. You'll be fine. You'll make a ton of money.
Oh,
and
my God.
And he wound up being collateral damage because fuck it, right? So that is the idea. Now let's go through.
I've heard this.
The evidence.
Okay.
Because there's some evidence. I'm like, there's so many conspiracy theories about Diana.
I know.
We're just going to talk about the one with evidence. So 4 years prior to this, Diana wrote a letter to her butler saying, I know that Charles is trying to kill me. He's trying to fuck with my car so that I get in an accident so that he can be with... She thought that he was having an affair with their nanny and Camilla. So she was like, he's trying to get me killed so he can be with fucking Tiggy, the nanny. And...
Well, in that time, no one had really gotten divorced in the royal family, too.
Right. She was extremely paranoid, okay? Also, let's talk about the driver. We all know that he was allegedly an informant, but he also that night had been drinking and taking antidepressants, causing him to be impaired, allegedly. Mm-hmm. people say that his family especially, like, they don't want to believe that their son was driving 3 times over the French legal limit. So they're like, his blood samples were tampered with. And they say that his blood samples have carbon monoxide in them as well.
Oh my
so they were trying to like fuck him up. But anyways, they get in the tunnel. The accident happens. Why the fuck is Diana in the tunnel for an hour before they take her to the hospital? And on the way to the hospital, they drive so slow and even stop that it takes them 25 minutes to get there instead of 15. Is this
fact?
This is fact.
How do they know that?
Because they had a ton of witnesses there. She was being followed by paparazzi. And the French investigation on the death collected all of the paparazzi footage.
Wow.
So they knew, okay, it took them an hour to get approval to take her to the hospital. I guess they were deciding which one. They know that they gave her fentanyl to calm her down. Yes.
What?
To calm her down because she was very agitated.
Whoa.
But obviously
she was alive. She was in DOA.
After the accident, she looked minorly injured. She had a little cut on her head.
What?
And was like, oh my God, like a little like confused. But everyone thought she was fine, but she was bleeding internally.
Oh.
The entire time. So she stays there for an hour, does 25 minutes to the hospital, gets there, and goes into cardiac arrest. And they can't they bring her back like 3 or 4 times or something. So the theory is that MI6 conducts this murder and then somehow is also in on it with the hospital and is like delaying her care and kind of like making them do stuff. That's just the theory. Wow. It's very interesting. I also want to say that the last part of this theory, as they're going into a tunnel, they hit this white Fiat. It's some guy in it with his dog with a red bandana, according to the paparazzi footage. And then they hit the pillar and the guy in the Fiat has like disappeared. Come to find out, one of the photographers that Diana worked with, she would arrange sessions with him and be like, I'll let you shoot for 30 minutes and then leave me alone for the rest of the day. Yeah. Stuff like that. And so he was making a fortune off of her, following her everywhere that she went on her trips. He drove a white Fiat and had a dog with a red bandana. So the idea was that he had been following her, got a little too close, got involved with the accident, had a ton of pictures of what happened afterwards because he was right there, and then just disappeared because
like
he
no
was
one's found him.
Well, they found him eventually because years after this, he was trying to sell the photos. He laid low for like 3 years. He starts trying to sell the photos, and then next thing you know, he's found dead in his car with a gunshot wound to the head, and the car is on fire in the middle of the woods. Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Whoa.
When I tell you that this story has some weird ass coincidences.
Yeah.
It has some weird ass coincidences. I don't know. Like, I definitely think my take on it is that
I'm like nervous now.
I know. Oh my God, please don't come for us, royal family.
We're safe.
Yeah, we're safe. But this was freaking me out yesterday. So I think that I don't think it was an inside job.
Oh.
But I do think that the royal family wasn't upset about it.
Yeah. Because a lot of people on the surface say like, oh, the queen wanted her dead because she was taking away from like good press of the queen. Like everyone hated her at that time. So, but I've also heard a different conspiracy theory that the decoy car was the car that got hit. Because there's a video of her leaving in like a green car and then she died in a black car.
That's interesting because part of the theory was that the Mercedes in the front had better safety features than the Mercedes in the back, and that's why they made her go out the back. So it's like conflicting.
And then people say that because she wasn't killed and wasn't in the right car that was in the pictures, and there was a decoy lady in the car, like that looked like her, that she is like living in Africa because, and people are like, well, it makes a lot of sense. Look at like Harry and like how he's left and he felt good doing that.
What?
I don't know. That's what people say. Those are some crazy theories, but I don't think she was pregnant.
I don't
personally.
think so either. No.
And I don't know how into Dodie she was. She was in her like hot girl era.
That's the sense that I get too. Like she wasn't trying to get married super quick again.
No, and she had her 2 sons that she loved and was like trying to hold on to them in that relationship and be their mother. And I think that she was also like 25 or 26 or something like that. Wasn't she like almost like maybe 30? She was really young.
They got married when she was 20 and they were married for 15 years.
Oh. I'm just saying.
She's like 35.
I feel like she never got her like hoe phase.
She absolutely was robbed of that.
Like most girls, at least in America, you have your college years, which you can get it out. Like get out. You're finding yourself. You're discovering who you are. You're wearing new things that you've never worn before. That was like her era after she got divorced.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think that the royal family liked it.
I don't think so either. She was fucking up their shit. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of Meghan Markle, like getting a ton of press, even though I guess at first it was positive, over Kate Middleton.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of situation. That really makes them fucking hate you when you take away the press.
Yeah. Because they need to keep up their reputation and not want people to like get rid of the crown.
Yeah. So that's the tea on that. We don't know what happened, obviously. Mohammed died, I think, last year.
Yeah.
So he never found out. But Lady Di's spirit lives on in all of us.
I think that Harry knows the truth.
Why?
Because he was in the military, and I'm sure he saw some shit or found evidence. He was like obsessed. He talked about this in his book. He was obsessed with figuring out what happened to his mom. Yeah. So I think he found out.
He knew that something was up.
Why
would he feel the need to like look into it? Wait. I've been afraid to read his book because he talks about his balls or whatever freezing.
Yeah, I never finished it too. I did the same thing with Michelle Obama's book. I get 3/4 of the way through and then I forget to finish it.
Whatever.
It's weird.
It's okay.
Yeah. One of my favorite conspiracy theories is the Malaysia Air crash.
Yes. I never knew anything about that until I saw the Netflix documentary.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm really into it because like Lost was the first show I ever binged. And I've always been kind of interested / like have a secret obsession with like flying. I wanted to be a pilot, but I have horrible eyesight.
Watch your butt.
I know. So obsessed with flying. Always interested in what like the Bermuda Triangle was. Where did Amelia Earhart go? Like all these questions just rattle around in my brain as a young kid. And then I see Lost and I'm like, aha.
You like the idea of the plane crash.
Well, it's just interesting to me.
The mystery.
Like the Lost, they lose this flight and they lost Amelia Earhart. Like there are many times in history where like people are just missing and never found. That's crazy to me.
There's a whole show on Investigation Discovery about missing people who have never been found. And it's been going on for like seasons and seasons and seasons.
It's very interesting to me. So then I see this happened twice, but the first one, the Malaysia Airlines flight was missing in 2014. And my mouth dropped to the fucking floor because I had flown Malaysia Air when I studied abroad, literally to the day almost a year prior. And I was like, whoa, that's weird.
Creepy.
Like creepy, weird. I had the heebie-jeebies, so I was like really into it. You know, there was a lot of Americans on that flight. There were a lot of people going, I think it was going to China. The flight was supposed to go from Malaysia to somewhere in China, I think Beijing. And it just fucking disappears. And you know, a lot has been learned even since 9/11. Like, you have to always, you get a lot of what happened on the flights and what went wrong from the black box.
Right.
But because this flight is missing, there is no black box. So they can't figure out what happened.
Oh, God.
They're searching the waters of the Indian Ocean, which is extremely dangerous. Like, it's a very, the ocean is very intense over there. It's filled with a lot of sharks. Like,
oh,
if
God.
the conditions are off, like, you can't see anything. So they had I remember watching the news, and they had a really, really hard time figuring out where this plane went, because they were like, well, if it went off course, it went over here into the Indian Ocean, but maybe it went so off course that it's in the Pacific. Like, maybe it crashed in the middle of nowhere, like in between like Russia and Mongolia. There were so many theories flying around, and they're trying to work with other countries to help them look. This is the problem. The problem is that where this flight is flying over parts of the Middle East that is contentious with the rest of the world, and close enough to Russia that you might not get a lot of help that you want to get. And so
why wouldn't you get help with that?
Well, because of what the conspiracy theory of why this flight is gone.
Okay, continue. Oh my God.
So I watched the Netflix documentary series about this airline, and honestly, I was kind of like bored at first, because a lot of it is like, maybe it's sunk so far down into the ocean, like it can't go down that far to find it, is what in the Indian Ocean is what a lot of people thought.
I would think that.
Or it hit so hard on impact that it just exploded into a million pieces, or it caught on fire or something like that. And it's just like something so insane. Like, it's just hard to find all the pieces, because they never even found like artifacts from the flight.
To this day?
Nothing.
Oh my God.
Never found the black box, nothing. And then I was talking about this with someone whose father was in the CIA. And
careful, Jenny.
Huh?
Careful. The paranoia sinking in.
Well, they were saying that. Now I'm afraid to say it, but it's on Wikipedia.
Okay, if it's on Wikipedia,
it's on Wikipedia. And this was also in the documentary.
Okay.
But the most believed theory of what happened to this flight, and let me pull up the article, because I just want to make sure that I get this, that I get the facts in, you know?
Yeah, we do the research.
Okay, so and then people thought there was a possibility of the flight being hijacked. That was like the high possibility.
That was a high possibility?
Yeah, that it was a terrorist attack.
Oh, shit.
That's what people thought. And then there was a Reddit article circulating that like even North Korea might have hijacked it because it was going to China.
But why? Was there anyone on that plane who like, I don't get it. What's the motive?
Well, okay, so let me get into what I think what is the most plausible hypothesis is that because American politician commentator Rush Limbaugh, so
oh God,
take that with what you will, but according to CNN, speculated that the aircraft may have been shot down because supporters of this theory have noted that the civilian aircraft shot down by military forces with Iran Air Flight 655, so this other flight that has been missing in 1988, was like basically in cahoots to shoot this plane down because by the Soviet Union, because it was potentially like an attack.
The plane was an attack?
Yes. So they think that it's similar to that in that they were tracking this aircraft, which did turn back at one time but they were not exactly sure whether it was that aircraft. And they believe that that aircraft was carrying like illegal weapons. That someone had put weapons on this flight, and that the U.S. military was in cahoots to shoot it down, because they thought that if it was going to China, then China was going to use whatever was on that flight to attack like the Allies.
But it can't have been a huge weapon that causes a massive amount of damage. They're talking about like guns and stuff, right?
They don't know.
Missiles?
They don't know.
Because I'm trying to think what would make it worth it for the U.S. to kill a bunch of innocent people, over 100 innocent people over that.
That's how bad it must have been, is what they're saying. Even Americans were on that flight.
Yeah, that's a little, okay, that sounds a little crazy. That's a little MI6.
That's what I'm saying.
It's giving MI6
that's
and Lady
what I'm saying,
Di.
that people thought that it was intentional and that they covered it up because they didn't want people to know. I mean, in this book, this person wrote, they allege that the jet was shot down during a U.S.-Thai joint strike fighter jet training exercise intentionally as part of a sophisticated cover-up. The book received considerable criticism by the U.S. government, and that it's premature and insensitive. But there was a lot of weird shit that happened with this flight. Why are you making a U-turn if like there was nothing reported inaccurately happening? That flight was flying during a red eye, and they were trying to make a weird turn, and they had never talked to like the control center of like, because usually that's what would happen. You would tell the control center like, oh, something's happening to the flight. That would be tracked. All of those things are noted. There's no reason why this flight was then turning towards the Indian Ocean, but it did.
Are you saying that the pilots were talking to the control center at all?
No.
Okay, so how do we know that they even had the ability to do that and something wasn't like prohibiting their communication? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe something was wrong
on the black box,
which they don't know where that is.
It just is weird. It's weird. It's weird that you don't say that, or even control center could see.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, but I don't think they did.
I don't know. This is a weird one. I feel like I have no idea why this would happen. Mm-hmm. Like Amelia Earhart, okay, back then, you know,
yeah,
it's a little crazy. Now, and there's nothing that you can gather. It's kind of mysterious.
I mean, they think that the people that are conspiracizing about this think that people like the government knows what happens, but they can't tell us what happened, like Area 51, because it is something that could be. That's what they think. I mean,
I know.
How do you have a plane in 2014 with like over 300 passengers that just goes missing? There's no debris. There's nothing.
What would you think is the most likely possibility?
I think that it's covered up by the government, and they were shot down. What do you think? There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it. People think there was like a cyber attack that happened. They think that, you know, the plane did just disappear into the Indian Ocean because it's such treacherous waters. You know,
that's what I think probably happened. Like, my rational mind would think something went wrong with the plane. They couldn't communicate, or their communications weren't going through. They tried to avoid it by turning, and then it just fucked them anyway.
And then there's a theory, so I don't know if you remember, but like 3 or 4 months after this, another Malaysian flight crashed in July of that year. And it crashed over Ukraine.
But they found it.
But they think that plane that crashed in Ukraine was actually the first flight.
This is giving manifest.
This is based off the photographs of the crash scene, and in quote, which conspiracy theorists claim to show that that plane that crashed in Ukraine had structural similarities to MH370. So MH370 is the first flight.
Right, but they were the
Boeing
same.
77 is the second one.
I don't understand.
They did dismiss these theories, but it's weirdly coincidental.
Why wouldn't the planes be the same if they're in the same
But it's
airline?
weird that the same airline has massive crashes like this 4 months apart from each other. That's never happened, ever.
I mean, now it's happening a lot.
With the same airline?
With Boeing.
That's not an airline.
But still.
No, that's different. This is an airline that's a national airline.
But are they different planes?
Yes.
Two different kinds of planes?
Yes.
But they look the same.
They look similar but different.
What?
There's structural differences to each of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Um
That could have been a real life manifest where like they thought the plane crashed, but in reality they were traveling through time 4 months ahead.
That's what Don Lemon thinks or something. Don Lemon's got considerable attention when he thought it was preposterous that it could have even happened, but potentially that the plane went into a black hole.
Don might be onto something with that one.
Or
that's one that I can
meteor
believe.
Struck the plane. But, it's weird.
It is weird. It's a little spooky.
What do you think happened?
I think that they lost communication. They couldn't get through. Something was wrong. They turned to try to fix it, and they crashed into the ocean and were obliterated and are probably at the bottom somewhere.
No. See, I mean, maybe. I think either our government knows what happens, they're not telling us, or our government is trying to figure out what's happening, and the enemies won't tell us.
Based on my knowledge from watching West Wing, I would say it's the second one. Because a lot of times the government does hide things, and they do lie about things. But in their minds, with the context that they have, they're like, this is the best option.
And I think they thought the best option was shooting this plane down.
Oh my God. You're Rush Limbaughing. Oh no.
I don't know. I mean, I want to believe that. What I really want to believe is that they're all living on an island somewhere and they can't get off, like Lost.
Did they have a good time on the island in
Not
Lost?
really.
Oh.
There's a lot of shit that happened. It got really weird towards the end, but then it was a whole thing where it's like kind of like suggesting like, are we in this universe or are we in multiple universes?
It went that far.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I want to know what happened to this plane. I want to know what happened at Area 51. There's a lot of things we don't know. Are aliens real?
I do think that there's no way that aliens aren't real.
They
in
are
my heart
real.
of hearts, they have
like,
to be
are
real.
the lizard people real? I want to know.
The lizard people are definitely not real, but aliens for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, should we do our idea of the week?
Yeah.
What is it?
Our idea of the week is that TikTok needs a conspiracy theory filter.
That part.
To save Bria's mom.
To save all the moms out there,
all
frankly.
the moms.
Like, it's honestly, even if you think it's not happening to your mom, it's happening. They're planting seeds.
I will say there is a flag on videos if it is, especially during the political years, like they will flag that like this information is not proven or something.
Oh, I've never seen that on TikTok.
That was a thing in 2020 and on all the social platforms. And now even with AI, like YouTube and Meta announced last week that videos with AI will be flagged that they have AI in them.
I do see that on TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's coming. I mean, it's just hard because there's just so many conspiracy theories flying left and right. And it is part of your First Amendment.
That's true. You are allowed to have conspiracy theories. You're allowed to think. You're allowed to say.
You're allowed to speculate.
Yeah. There's no harm in that unless you're speculating
that.
It's
different when you are trying to say this is what happened. tin hat on.
Yes. Just, accept that there might be other possibilities. And leave it at that.
Yeah.
Our quote is so long. Maybe we'll just do part of it.
Oh. I'll
Go ahead.
I'll give a reenactment.
Okay.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of sound and mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. There's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop. The Twilight Zone! You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
And we hope that we have taken you there with this episode. We hope that this all felt very strange and spooky.
Spooky. Ookie, ookie.
Period.
I'm scared.
Me too. Maybe we said too much.
We're just joking.
This is all a parody.
This was a dream.
Wait. Wake up.
Wake up. Okay. Bye, girlies.